Good morning, everybody. Garda Commissioner Harris will just make a quick statement and take a few questions.
Good morning, everyone. Yesterday's events were just terrible, between the awful attack which happened at 1:30 in the afternoon and then the subsequent disorder, riot and looting in our city centre. It's just disgraceful scenes from start to finish. Overall, we have 34 arrests, 32 of which will be appearing before the courts this morning. We have 13 shops which have been damaged, significantly damaged, or have been subject to looting. We have 11 Garda vehicles either destroyed through arson or very extensively damaged, and with 3 buses, public transport buses destroyed, and a Lewis train destroyed, and also then the extensive damage as I've set out. So huge destruction from a riotous mob who were in effect responding at our crime scene to try and break into that crime scene and disrupt the crime scene at about 5:30, 5:45, and then from there on the violence escalated. Order was restored in about between 8:30 and 9 o'clock as we deployed more resources. No, Garda Síochána responded to this entirely, and then in an extraordinary fashion. Members from across the country, not just here in DMR, responded, returned to duty. Public order units from all over Ireland responded here to Dublin. More and more resources were arriving throughout the evening, but we could not have anticipated that in response to a terrible crime, the stabbing of school children and their teacher, that this would be the response. In effect, those filled with hate, and the hate directed towards members of Garda Síochána, that they would attempt to storm through our cordon and disrupt the crime scene, and then engage in violence, looting and disorder, including very significant criminal damage. Nobody could have anticipated that when these events started at 1:30, these awful events, and obviously we were concentrated upon the investigation. We couldn't have anticipated that this would be the reaction.
But people will say, why weren't you?
Well, the build-up of tensions, as you describe on social media, we were monitoring those, and we were constantly then adding to our resources that were available in DMR North Central. That was an ongoing part of the operation, and we did respond. But it has to be said that the crowds of those in the first place protesting, filled with hate directed towards members of Garda Síochána, were then supplemented with those who were only intent upon crime, disorder and the looting of premises. And one can see this morning, particularly sports type shops were specifically targeted. Now, Garda reacted quickly to that, and were able to clamp down on that looting, but we responded as the events unfolded. But I don't think at 1:30, as the original events unfolded, or indeed later in the mid-afternoon, we could have anticipated such disorder.
Richard?
Well, this is not a failure of personnel. All members of Garda Síochána responded to this. Everyone stood up to the plate in terms of their response. I now have to look to the tactics that we have for public order. We have not seen public order situation like this before. This may be behaviour which is apparent in other countries, but I think that we've seen an element of radicalization. We have seen a group of people who take literally a thimble full of facts and make a bathtub of assumptions, hateful assumptions, and then conduct themselves in a way which is riotous and disruptive to our society. We then have to respond to that in terms of our tactics and training. But there's no failure here. There's no failure. This is regrettably how protests have moved on, and now we have to graduate and have a proportionate response to that. Well, with respect, what happened last night was an entirely different scale to the events outside the Dáil, and the Dáil has now received a new policing response to public order situations. Now, we have adapted our tactics there, but we're going to have a fundamental review of our public order tactics, given the amount of violence directed towards citizens, members of Garda Síochána, but also the community.